Hey everyone, and welcome back to the ATD Movie Channel. I'm Tony, and today I'll be reviewing Venom, the latest Tom Hardy starring film. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right off the bat, something that you're probably not going to want to hear, but check out the entire review before you judge. This is a bad movie, but it's a bad movie that I really liked, and give me a chance to explain why, okay? Obviously, the movie is from the Marvel Universe. Venom, the character, is actually from the Spider-Man universe. He's an anti-hero who's sometimes the bad guy, sometimes the hero. Sort of like a Logan Wolverine character that tiptoes between good and bad. Obviously, in Spider-Man 3, Topher Grace played the character of Eddie Brock / Venom in the Sam Raimi movies. And a standalone film has been in production of one sort of another for years and years and years. And then finally, here we are in 2018 with the movie starring Tom Hardy. So the movie co-stars Michelle Williams and Riz Ahmed. And I want to jump right into it with what I liked. What I liked was Tom freaking Hardy. This guy is one of the best actors today. I mean, his range in this movie has the entire gamut of emotions for any human being on Earth. He goes from angry to fearful to vulnerable, and Tom Hardy has the ability to act alone on screen for a lot of this movie and carry the entire film. He's in every single scene of the film, and so his ability to capture us as an audience and keep us entertained is a big part of why I really like this movie. I felt like his performance was organic and it was very honest, and I think it's really hard to do that in an action film, but it's even harder to do that in such a stretch of the imagination like this character is. Tom Hardy nails it. I'm telling you guys, if you just give the movie a chance and appreciate what Tom Hardy does, I think you're gonna love it. The physicality of the role had to have been difficult for him. There's these moments in the movie where he's so angry, it's almost like he's about to Hulk out, like we see in the Avengers, and the physicality comes through in his performance. The camera captures it beautifully. And then the thing I really liked, and probably the thing I liked the most, is the internal dialogue that the Eddie Brock character has with the Venom symbiote. So the Venom symbiote is the gooey substance, if you will, that latches onto its host, Eddie Brock. And the way that that internal dialogue is played out on film is just fantastic. The symbiote has its own personality, and the two characters banter, and it's just epic, the way that these two characters collide. I'm telling you guys, the Tom Hardy performance is worth watching this movie alone. The other thing I really liked about the movie is the action. I think that they use the powers of Venom very creatively, and I think that they use it in inventive ways. So if you've seen the trailer, you know what the hero's powers are. It's almost, I hate to even reference this, but it's almost like Mr. Fantastic, where he can stretch and create weapons with his, symbiote. And the way that the movie plays out those powers, I think, are a testament to a creative filmmaking team that wanted to bring out the best of the character from the comic books into real life. These action sequences are where they can make a comic book real, and I think they nailed it. I think it's a lot of fun. There's a couple motorcycle sequences that I think play out pretty well, and I'll get to the climax in a minute, but I think that it is one of the better... I hate talking down to this movie, but it's one of the better generic superhero movies that I've seen in a long time. The other thing that I liked about the movie is the CGI overall. Overall, I enjoyed the CGI in this movie. Some of it is really bad. And I've talked about this in my reviews in the past, that a lot of times big budget action movies like this get multiple art houses or special effects houses working on these movies at the same time, and there's inconsistencies in the quality of one CGI scene at the beginning of the film versus a CGI scene at the end of the film. And this movie unfortunately falls victim to that. But overall, it's really good. Now, I mentioned the climax earlier. It's a great blend of CGI characters with real actors, and it pushes the story along. The CGI oftentimes feels like it's only helping to tell the story. It's not just there for flash and spectacle. So I love movies that do that use action to tell the story, and this is one of those movies. So oftentimes in my reviews, I tell you what I liked and then I tell you what I didn't like. There's something about this movie that I liked and also didn't like, and it was dependent on which part of the movie we're talking about, and that's the pacing and the editing. You guys, I was almost completely checked out of the first act. It's awful. It's awful in the way that it rushes what it's trying to do. It's inconsistent. It jumps around way too much. And overall, it felt completely disjointed from the rest of the movie now that I've seen the entire film. And there's no world building. They're not taking an opportunity in the first act to tell us who these characters are. Who are they relative to maybe other Marvel characters? Who are they relative to... There's only three real main characters. Who's everybody else occupying this world? I mean, there's barely any characters in this movie. Could be a strategic move on purpose to make it focus on Eddie Brock and Venom, but there's no, I mean, it's just so fast, and it's exposition, and it's boom, 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 boom. It really just, I was not in a good place at the end of the first act. But then things slow down in the second act. It starts to grab hold of the audience. It starts to tell the story that it wants to tell. And we get to know Eddie Brock a little bit better, both as a person and with the symbiote. And it's crystal clear what the story is and what the direction of the film is by the second act. And then the third act, I think, continues with that success. It's crystal clear what it's trying to do. It's crystal clear in the story that it's trying to tell. But you can't help but feel like there is a disjointed movie overall, and it feels like there was multiple directors or even multiple editors involved because of the inconsistencies. And I hope somebody who watches it can talk to me about what their thoughts are on this, because it really took me out of the film in the first act. And now these are the things that I straight up didn't like about the film, and this is what to me makes it a bad movie. The story. The story is absolutely stupid. It's silly, it's not relatable at all, and it almost loses us completely in the first act because it's not grounded in reality or any sort of... It doesn't need to be grounded in reality per se, but there's no sense of realism to what these people are doing or going through. It's so fantastical that I didn't feel like I could connect to any of the characters. The other thing I didn't like about the movie was I mentioned it, there's the supporting characters and the villain. There's just nothing here outside of Tom Hardy. No one but Eddie Brock is fully fleshed out at all. And I feel bad for Michelle Williams because I feel like this is yet another movie where she's misused. And I feel like I say that all the time in these reviews. She's just short of being downgraded to a damsel in distress. She's not there fully, but it's pretty close. They don't know how to use her, and she's this really smart, semi-powerful attorney in San Francisco, and they don't use it very well at all. The other thing I want to mention is that the villain, played by Riz Ahmed, is basically the skeleton of any character that we would ever fear or care about. The motivations are really silly. They're not believable. The backstory is told in exposition over the course of 10 seconds. And there's little to no interaction with the Brock character outside of a conversation at the beginning of the movie. So Ahmed doesn't stand out. He doesn't stand a chance against Tom Hardy physically. And that plays into the movie without spoiling anything. So if I can't even visualize them physically being foes, it's silly because Tom Hardy's ripped and you can see it in this movie. So the villain, the supporting characters, there's nothing there. So I want to land this plane. In conclusion, there's three things that I always look for in a movie, and that's simple: story, characters, and spectacle. This movie doesn't have story, and it doesn't have characters. It only has spectacle. It's fun though. And that's where I'm torn. I understand why the critics hate it. It's not a good movie, but it's so much fun. It's funny. That's another thing that we need to talk about. And it's a part of the internal dialogue between Eddie Brock and Venom. The dialogue between the two of them is comedic gold. It's the timing and the nuances and the cues that are involved in comedy just play out so well when the two characters are going at it. And I like that so much that it really kind of tipped the scale towards my liking the movie versus my distaste for it. Look, I don't always trust critics, and it's because of movies like Venom. I gotta be honest with you. Is it gonna win an Oscar anytime soon? No, absolutely not. But are you going to have fun? Are you going to get to unplug and be entertained for 2 hours? Absolutely. And that's why I would recommend this movie. I think it's a lot of fun and it's super entertaining, and that's why we go to the movies. So, have you seen Venom? And do you like the character from the comic book days? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be notified of content uploaded regularly. You can find other movie reviews on the channel as well. Thanks for watching my review of Venom. I'll talk to you soon.